This has been one of the most hotly anticipated deliveries for us. It's our third set of brackets for our shutters, and I just hope that it's third time lucky.
Yeah.
That's really stuck, isn't it? That's not a great sound.
Not the strongest start to the day. So we've just discovered, taking these brackets off, that where we spray painted them, it's stuck to the shutter itself. Then as we've removed them, it's left the black bracket paint on the shutter itself, but it's also pulled off the nice green paint as well on the bracket. So gonna be a bit of refurbishment work to do there, but I think for now, we're just gonna leave it be, plow on, get the new brackets on, check we can actually get all of this fitted and installed. Then once it's all installed, we can then remove them off the windows and touch them up afterwards.
We might get lucky and get away with it. These brackets are obviously a lot bigger, and depending on where the final positioning needs to be, they potentially will be able to actually cover the mess that one left behind.
Yeah, it might be okay on that one, but definitely not on this one because it goes right to the edge. Shutters!
Are we in?
We're in. God, they look a lot more robust, don't they?
Oh yeah, they look sturdy. Initial impressions?
Love it. Still very nervous about fitting though.
I know.
Right, let's do the rest of them. We've got ourselves a couple of hot dogs. They're struggling a little bit, so we just find that wetting them down helps to keep them a lot cooler, even if they don't like it.
Yeah, they're not lovers of water. They're not going to play in a paddling pool willingly, so this is the only option.
Waterboarding them.
No, not waterboarding. No, shake. So thick.
Me next.
Ricky! Oh, great lines. Come on, still a couple of jugs.
Now that is snug and level and plumb inside the window opening, here comes the tricky part, the even trickier part, because this is our hinge that's going to go on the bracket. So effectively, you've got this part that's going to sit on the bottom of the hinge on the bracket. The pin drops through the top, snaps into there and locks it in. Then we've got this threaded rod that is going to be chem fixed into the stone. So We now need to drill the holes for this, and I am nervous because I've got to get this hole in the exact right position to make sure that the shutters hang correctly. Also, I need to try and go in a bit of an angle because these are going to go in very close to the edge. So normally they put it at kind of a 30, 45 degree angle in. So I think that's going to be tricky. So I really hope we can do a good job of this because I don't want to come this far and balls it up.
You do look like you're holding a little pipe.
Ding, ding, ding.
Does it look lined up? Yeah?
Yeah, well, you can see.
Thank goodness for that.
Oh, success.
Are you recovering a little bit?
Yeah, cooked after that. I'm squeezing into this tiny little slither of shade.
So your gizmo works?
Yeah, luckily. I mean, it's not the most accurate thing in the world, but it does the job. Basically, the problem we were having was trying to emulate where the hole was going to be. So that goes into the wall to line up with that, because obviously we need this to go off at an angle, so I can't just measure it down and go straight underneath this cylinder. So what I've done is a bit of threaded rod. Where this position with the nut and the washer is, it basically makes the perfect amount from the top of this down to the center of the hole. So I've been putting this through there, tightening that up. Once that's tightened up, I know that if I go underneath there and clear this, then the hole's in the right place. And it kind of worked. I say kinda, it worked. All 4 holes are perfect for these to go in. So this method is successful. Stamp of approval.
I'll be the one giving the stamps, thank you. We're one step closer. Obviously the wedges are still all around the shutter doors, but they're in and everything looks like it's in the right position.
I just wish that this chemical fixing would set quicker, but we need to leave it for about 40 minutes to go off properly. But all I want to do is just swing them open, but they're in. Happy days. We've not got too much time left today, but we've got a little bit, so I'm going to try and get ahead for tomorrow. Start positioning the ones for the gable end, and if I've got time, get the holes in for them. But I think I'll be battling the light, so we'll see.
So I'm having a few mixed emotions about the garden at the minute. On the one hand, I'm really chuffed with how the plants seem to be responding to having this shade over the top. They're definitely not drying out as quickly and they seem just generally a little bit happier. However, you might remember I said that we'd had a few plants that had been attacked and basically destroyed by voles. Well, that situation has somewhat escalated and I'd describe us as under a full-blown vole siege at the moment. We're losing multiple plants to it every single day. This is one of yesterday's victims. It was a watermelon plant and it was doing really well. We've got some tiny little marble-sized melons on there, but completely destroyed though. And you can see there's a big hole there. So that's what's making me think that it is definitely voles. You can kind of trace a tunnel through the soil. So I need to make the garden less appetising to this vole or maybe family of voles, and I've ordered some ultrasonic probes that you stick in the ground, and they emit a frequency that they just don't like to be around. So hopefully they just scarper off and just leave everything well alone in the garden. But I have also bought a couple of pots of chives because apparently they really hate the smell of onions. I don't expect 2 little pots of chives to actually get rid of the problem entirely, but hopefully it's a step in the right direction. One thing that is doing really well are the tomatoes, and these ones are ready to be picked. They're a yellow variety, so there's no point waiting for them to get red because they're not gonna. That smell always reminds me of my granny. She would grow the most amazing tomatoes in her little greenhouse, and whenever we went to her house, we'd always leave laden with bags of them. So, a very nostalgic smell for me. Not bad. Not as good as Granny's, but not bad. You've got the shutters open without me.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to actually just see what they look like, but I'm glad that I did because we've got a wee problem.
A wee problem?
Well, it's not a problem. There's a simple-ish solution, but it's just more work.
Okay, well, I like the sound of more work.
What will they look like closed?
So do we need a bigger hole in the middle? A bigger gap?
Yes. We can either plane all this down and have a much bigger gap and then have kind of a piece either on the inside or the outside that will cover that gap when they close.
Or profile it.
Or, yeah, we could have a profile. I think it's because we've ended up using quite deep wood.
Yeah, that's exactly why it is.
I'm trying to work out if it's deep wood or whether it's part of this is because the brackets stepped away and it comes in a bit, that it's swinging it out. You can get them shut, but it takes a bit of work. So if I push that one in, I mean, you can see how tight it is.
Yeah.
You're literally talking like a couple of mil and that will go in. So maybe the easiest option is just to plane them down.
I mean, they look great open.
They're good though, don't they?
Yeah.
Some of you with an eagle eye might have already noticed a problem when we were putting in the first shutters. So when I came to do the gable end, I had to open a new bottle of this, the chemical fixing, because the first one that we used was an open bottle we already had. When I started squeezing out of this new bottle, I thought it's the same brand, it's the same make, but it's a different color. And I quickly came to realize that on the first used bottle that we used, of the 2 parts that make up the chemical fixing, one of them must have been clogged. So basically all that was coming out and we were putting into those first holes was one part of it. So when I went back to check on it, it hadn't gone off at all. So I had to remove those shutters, clean out the holes, clean out the threaded rods, this part on the bracket, on the hinge, sorry, all whilst the light was fading quickly. But yeah, we got there in the end. So yeah, silly mistake that one. Must have just disengaged my brain for a second and not realised when we were doing the first window, but definitely a mistake I will not be making again anytime soon. So while we wait for the chemical fixing on that last window to cure, we're going to fit our little latches for the inside. They're so tiny, aren't they? But they're going to do the trick to keep them shut, so we'll get these 2 done, and then by the time we get to the third one, that'll be cured enough.
There's definitely a little knob on there, isn't it?
I mean, you're literally having to pinch it with your 2 little fingers, but I mean, it does the job. That's not going anywhere. So happy with how these turned out. It almost looks like livable now.
Yeah, if you don't see the inside.
Yeah. I'm just so glad that the brackets worked, because I really didn't fancy trying to find another solution.
No, I know. I mean, it took us to France to find these ones, but thank goodness they've actually worked.
We did actually buy these really cool, I think they call them shutter dogs or shutter stoppers. So they fit into the wall, and then when you push the shutter back against the wall, it holds it in place to stop it rattling around or bashing the wall. But because of where most of them actually fall, we're going to hold off putting them in until we've pointed up to the outside in a couple of months' time, because if we try and put them in now, there's not really a lot for them to grasp to. Well, it's taken a fair bit of effort and some headaches, but we've got some shutters.
Oh, Madam Square Hair needs to wait a little bit longer till she can live on our wall. My Vol things came this morning. Let's see how they work.
Is that a sound or a vibration?
It's a vibration. It's not very strong, is it?
No.
Try it again. The information was a bit limited on these, and I'm not entirely sure about how it's going to work being in a raised bed, but both of these raised beds are getting absolutely whacked by the voles, so I'm going to put one in each of these, and then theoretically the meters squared of the rest of the garden should be covered just by the other 2 that I've got. That's the plan. We'll see. Sounds like a little trumpet. Melon no more.
Tell you what, the buzzing sound is pretty irritating, isn't it?
It's not great, is it? But if it gets rid of the problem, then it'll be worth it. I'm sure it'll fade into the background.
While Victoria is putting in those vole buzzers, just to give you a little update on the orange thief, because I keep forgetting in all the other videos. Unfortunately, we still haven't caught it on camera. Because of this time of year, our smaller orange tree is in the middle of kind of producing newer oranges, so they're all green at the moment. We've got the odd 1 or 2 still left on our bigger orange tree, but I think because there's so little fruit for it, it's kind of moved on somewhere else. It's still been a couple of times, and we've moved the camera around multiple times to try and catch it in the new position it's appeared, but because its visits are so fleeting, yeah, we've still not been able to get it. But if there's any update and we catch it on camera, we'll be sure to show you and let you know. I'm so grateful to have the shutters on now, because it means one very important thing. We no longer have to keep packing all of this rubbish into the window openings to block it up every night. But now that they're not needed, they're just becoming one of many piles of rubbish we've got in here. It's getting a bit ridiculous how much stuff we now have in here. It's just taking up precious floor space, so should we get it cleaned out?
Let's go!
Well, you look ready to get the drill out and do some work.
I am ready, but this heat, and I don't know, I'm just feeling a bit drowsy. Looking over on this wall, which is the one we're just going to start an SDS, down at the bottom, now that all the gubbins have been moved, you can just see how massive the stones are. There's one in particular that is just gigantic. I'm not procrastinating, I just want to know how big it is. 120 centimetres.
Wowza.
Can you imagine how heavy that would be?
Well, it's a lot less concrete we've got to rake out. This is like working in a sauna. It's crazy hot. We're just having to take a break for 10 minutes or so just to give our hands a rest from the vibrations, have a drink, try and dry out a little bit because we're both soaked. It's definitely not a good job to be doing on a summer's day, but right now this job is standing between us and doing more of the interior. So bit by bit, we just need to keep pressing on, and before you know it, we'll have it all done. So look at my little hat, all jaunty off to the side.
I need a shower and a glass of wine, or maybe a glass of wine in the shower. Are we done for the day?
Yeah, I think so. I'm absolutely soaked. Also, as well, I don't know if my hand can say much more. I know how your Vol's going to feel in the garden now.